6 characteristics of resourceful people we've got for you here. The first one being resourceful people have an open mind, okay? Positively working at breaking boundaries and open to other views and ideas, okay? Now, we'd all like to think we've got an open mind, but as you guys know, if you've watched any of my sessions in the past, that when we grow up, we are conditioned a certain way, okay? So we sense it, we're using one of our senses, sight, feel, see, smell, whatever it may be. We sense it and then we store it, okay, into our filing cabinets, right? And all of that storage, everything, even right now as you're taking this in, it goes into your storage, gets stored, okay? Now the theory states that we store everything. Everything we ever feel, hear, see, say, smell, whatever, okay? We store it. It's just our recall of it that's the problem, okay? But that's for another session, another day. The point is, we store it all. And then, when we come up against something new in life, our brain tries to put a frame of reference around it by going back into our storage, okay? A little bit like when we first went into COVID, a lot of the news outlets were trying to put a frame of reference and compare it to like SARS or Spanish flu, something like that, okay? And that was their way of going, we've got this new thing, how do we put a frame of reference around it? What can we go to and put a frame of reference around it? It's exactly the same in the brain. When you look at something, people have a frame of reference around it. I had a conversation the other day with somebody. We were talking about the favourite cars and things, and I said mine's a 1967 Dodge Charger, okay? And the person I was talking to had completely no frame of reference for that car whatsoever. She just didn't know what it looked like, she didn't know what it was, she didn't know, by the way, if anybody wants to know, it was the Dukes of Hazzard car, okay, the General Lee, yeah? Not that I'd want one in orange with the national flag on it, with the Confederate flag on it, but nevertheless, Dodge Charger, 1967. But no frame of reference around it, okay? You might be thinking, what's this got to do with having an open mind? Well, if we've got all of this storage in our heads, when we see something new, the first thing we do is go into our filing cabinet and try and put a frame of reference around it, which then makes it quite difficult to be open-minded, or should I say challenging is a better word than difficult, isn't it, yeah? It makes it quite challenging then to have an open mind. So, loads of people go, oh yeah, I've got an open mind. None of us really have an open mind because we've got a frame of reference in our head for what we've learned over the years, and that's kind of what we put on things with that. So we do have to really work on this one. We have to really work on, let's see what other people say. My view might not always be the right view, albeit you might feel that way because you've got some stuff in your filing cabinet in the past about it, yeah? I don't know if anybody has seen these little clips that sometimes people put on YouTube and Facebook on the internet, but I can't remember the name of the psychological concept actually, it'll come back to me. It's where you watch a movie and you think you've heard something and people latch onto it and it becomes a catchphrase, but actually it wasn't said in that way, and that's because we attach a frame of reference to it in our head. So for instance, the most famous one was E.T., the movie E.T. We all know the famous line in E.T., phone home. Yeah, when he's pointing up, phone home. He actually said home phone in the movie. But somebody took that into their brain as phone home rather than home phone, which is what it was in the film, made a phrase out of it, and then it started to go viral. Well, in those days, obviously, whatever viral was in those days. And now if you say to people, what's the famous line in E.T.? Phone home. E.T. phone home. It wasn't, it was E.T. home phone. It was the other way around. And so that's a great example of where sometimes if somebody had that argument with you, if somebody said to you home phone and not explained it like the way I just had, you'd go, well, no, he didn't say that, he said phone home. So you would assume your view is right based on something that's not factual. So that's why it's very, very useful to have an open mind and take in other people's views and ideas. The way that I like to do this is I like to view that my views are just one view and other people have lots of other views. Is there ever going to be a right or a wrong? You don't really know, because a lot of it's opinion, isn't it? So, we drive on the left-hand side of the road, other people drive on the right-hand side of the road, and so on and so on. Which one's right and which one's wrong? Neither. They're just different, for instance, okay? So, number one, open mind. And that one comes in to the other two subjects, adaptable and resourceful and creative as well. So that's why I've just spent a little bit of time on that. Okay, quite interesting to just make a bit of time for that. Open your mind for trying to get over boundaries and open your mind for other people's ideas and views. Remember, because your view is based on your frame of reference. Okay. They learn. So, resourceful people regularly take in new knowledge. Dare I say, all of the regulars that we've got on the session today, and some of the newer people that I don't recognise as well, taking in knowledge. The only thing to be more resourceful is to have more resources in your head. So learn more, read more, listen more, watch more, whatever it may be. Okay. They're imaginative. Now, of course, this one's definitely going to come in with the creative piece as well. But they're imaginative, so learn to be creative and always ask questions. To be honest, this one and this one go hand in hand. Imagination and learning go hand in hand. So the creative and asking questions, well, if you've got to, in order to get knowledge, you've got to ask a question. Okay, so even if you're sitting, on this session right now, when you logged onto it, what you really did in your brain was go, what's today's session all going to be about? What am I going to learn? Even though you don't physically ask the question is posed by the brain, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here today doing that, okay? Okay, so next three, resourceful people are resilient. Now, don't want to go too much into this because we did 3 whole sessions on resilience, being more resilient. We did part 1, part 2 and part 3 over the last few weeks, and they're on the YouTube channel, so you can go and check them out. But people that are resourceful are resilient. Ability to compartmentalize those things that throw us off balance. So this is another good point here. There are several areas of your life, and if you joined us on last week's sessions, we did something called the wellness wheel, where people kind of graded themselves on the wellness wheel of 8 different areas of your life. And the point of doing that was, if you've got a bit of a below a 5, or a lower number in one of those areas on a scale of 1 to 10, then you can put some actions in place to start to change that, of course, can't you? But people that are resilient are able to compartmentalize some things that throw them off balance. So we all know sometimes when things go wrong, it's very easy to say everything's gone wrong at that point. One thing's gone wrong, everything's gone wrong, okay? Resourceful people are able to box things off. Okay, so that's not right. So that thing there in my life, in my work, is not right. Okay, I'm working on it or can't do anything with it right now. I'm going to box that off because I've got all of these other 7 other areas in my life where things are actually going okay. So that's quite a good little skill to have. I used to have a colleague, just bear with me a second, guys. There we go. I used to have a colleague that would visualize kind of putting a piece of paper in her brain, and kind of whatever was troubling her, she'd put a piece of paper into her head, and the thing would be behind it. Yeah, the thing that was a problem would be behind the paper, which would give the rest of her brain space to do stuff. Okay, it worked for her, but that's about compartmentalizing things in your head, so you're able to deal with better things in different ways. Honest. Resourceful people are honest. They are known for delivering and not over-promising. Okay? So they're honest with themselves around their time capacity, resource capacity. That's not to say that these people won't set themselves stretch goals. Absolutely. Of course, they'll set themselves stretch goals, but they're honest, they're straightforward. I need this amount of time, it's going to take me this amount of time to do this, and so on and so on and so on. And then finally, when it comes to resourcefulness, they also share knowledge. Now, this is one that sometimes isn't considered for resourceful people. When you think about somebody being resourceful, you think about all the stuff we've said so far, and resourceful people getting knowledge so they can be resourceful. However, really great resourceful people, they share their knowledge and expect others to share it also. So by sharing knowledge, you often get knowledge back. So actually, sometimes being resourceful could be helping somebody out. Could be sharing some of your knowledge with somebody, and then you learn something back on it. So again, that's one that isn't often thought about. Okay, so very quick recap before we move on to adaptable. Open mind. Okay, so we don't just go into our filing cabinet. They constantly learn and take in knowledge. They're imaginative and ask lots of questions. They're resilient and can compartmentalize things when they go wrong. They're honest and they do deliver but don't overpromise. And finally, they will share a lot of their knowledge and expect other people to share it back as well at the same time.